All right, Unit 2, Lesson 2, Shape, Rhythm, Pattern, and Movement and Rhythm. Last time we did geometric shapes, and we did our Nearpod lesson on shapes, geometric shapes to be specific. Today's recorded video is on freeform shapes, and you're going to have to go onto your Nearpod and complete the actual Nearpod lesson on your Canvas after this. Should be a piece of cake since we're doing the video today. So let's check it out. Freeform shapes. So lesson 2 introduces freeform shapes. Freeform shapes are also known as organic shapes. That means that they're irregular or uneven, or they're shapes of people or of animals. They are not geometric shapes. Okay, so they have outlines that are curved, angular, or both. They're often found in nature.
Where have you seen shapes that are not geometric?
¿Dónde han visto figuras que no sean geométricas?
All right, so let's look at our objectives for the day. Our aesthetic perception, you should be able to define and identify what a freeform shape is. Okay, so after this, when you go on to Nearpod, it might ask you to circle which ones are freeform shapes and which ones are geometric. Pay attention, okay? Your creative expression is to use a variety of freeform shapes to create a fantasy artwork, okay? And also at the end of that, you should be able to evaluate your own work using 4 steps of art criticism. And you're going to learn art and history and culture, and you're going to identify and compare themes reflected in some works by American artists, okay? So just things that we're going to be doing real quick in 20 minutes. So let's look at the artwork on these pages. There's an artist named Minnie Evans that they're featuring. She used freeform shapes in her narrative painting. We know what a narrative is, to communicate her dreams. And then Elizabeth Murray, her painting is an abstract. Abstract means something that doesn't look real. Okay, it's an abstract work that implies the outdoors through colors and shapes. Okay, so let's look at these freeform shapes in these paintings. We're going to also look at some geometric shapes in this too, okay? Bear with me.
Let's take a close look at the 2 works of art.
All right, Minnie Evans often used flowers as a theme in her artwork. Can you name other themes that could be shown in several works by an artist? Can you think of another artist who used themes in their artwork? Every artist has their own theme. So let's look at these things. Seeing like an artist. Think about the various objects in nature that are made from freeform shapes. Use examples to explain the differences between freeform and geometric shapes. All right. So study both paintings to find the varieties in their artwork. So let's check out Minnie Evans' artwork. Let's check it up close. Minnie Evans, she, I want to say, she's from North Carolina, I think. She's an African-American artist who created artwork that reflected her private dream world. Much of her work includes the flowers of Arley Gardens, where she worked as a gatekeeper for 25 years. Evans was in her 40s when she started drawing in earnest. So she didn't even start drawing or becoming an artist until she was 40 years old. She went on to draw and paint for the next 50 years. Whoa. Okay, so what does that tell you about how long did she live? If she didn't start drawing until she was 40s and she went on for another 50 years to create artwork. Evans created her mixed media compositions by cutting out the faces and flora naming flowers from her crayon drawings. So she would create these crayon drawings, and then she'd fold them in half. And if you've ever done that project where we had to do like the mirror writing, and you write your name and you fold it in half and trace it on the other side, and you open it back up and it's like a creature. So she would do something like that. And then she would cut the faces out, and then she would glue them down on a piece of paper. One of the themes that you're going to notice in her artwork is symmetry. Everything is symmetrical. She'd glue them down on canvas or cardboard, and then she'd combine them afterwards with oil painting and watercolor paints afterwards.
Minnie Evans.
Let me check something out real quick. Let me see if this pulls up. Nada. Anyway, okay. So we're going to look at this in just a minute. It says, what shapes do you see most often in this paintings? So, okay. So let's look at this real quick. Zoom in. Okay, this was painted in 1967, by the way. If you want to see this in real life, you can go to Washington, D.C. and see it in the Smithsonian, one of the museums there. So let's check it out. So it looks like a face in the middle. So I bet you if you took your hand and put it over one side looks the same as the other. So it's like she drew a line down the middle and she created artwork on one side. You notice everything echoes. Eye here, eye there. Swirl here, swirl there. Part of the lip here, part of the lip there. Leaf here, leaf there. Everything echoes. Symmetry. Symmetry is when you divide something in half. One side looks the same as the other. Okay, so they're not exactly the same, but you can see like here, there's one person, and there's slight variations. But basically, they look the same because they are the same size, and then our same size. Let's see. Flowers, flowers. A lot of blooms. Looks like a cotton blossom. And then you see the different designs. Like this one is going this way. This eyeball here and an eyeball there. Eyeballs all around. It's kind of creepy, but it's kind of cool. So she created this as her crayon drawings, and then she would cut them out, paste them on paper, and then she would use oil paintings. Okay, that's what kind of shapes. Well, everything in here is a freeform shape because we said a freeform shape is something that's not rectangle or triangle. So people, leaves, the flowers are freeform shapes. The plants, everything is freeform shape. The only thing that's not, let's see here. No, everything's pretty much freeform shape in here. I like that. It's pretty nifty. So let's check this out. And it will be interesting to look at some of her other artwork. This one is by an artist named Elizabeth Murray. She's an American artist. She painted this kind of recently in 1997. Okay, so it's basically oil canvas on wood. It's called a riverbank. I have no idea. This is an abstract. So a riverbank. What can I see? I see, okay. If you think about a map, you see a map, and usually a map has like, the green where the land is. And then you see like the blue where the water is. Think about when you look at Google Maps, you see the blue. And then this looks like, I don't know. I'm just taking a guess. Maybe like a little boat or a float or something like that in the water. It kind of looks like a map. There's no telling, but it is abstract. Abstract means it doesn't look like anything. But she named it the riverbank. The whole thing looks like a big blob. So to me, this is a big freeform shape. Blobs are freeform shapes. I do see a rectangle. And I see like an oval here. And in the background, I see some echoes of some rectangular shapes in the background. Rectangle, it's a square, teardrop shape. That is freeform shape also. Some irregular shapes right here, but mostly freeform shapes and a little bit. So it says many triangles are found in the leaf designs. Leaf designs, triangles, and the leaf design. Okay. And then, the leaves. See, like the triangles right here, triangles. And with lots of freeform shapes. And then circles are found in the petals and rounded shapes. And in Murray's picture, shapes are found on the fingernail tips. Fingernail tips? What fingernails? Let's go back and look. Oh, I guess these are fingernail tips. So that's what she calls them? Okay. Whatever they are, I guess this is what she's talking about, like fingernail shapes. And the squares are found on the fingernail shapes. Yep, that's exactly what we said. Strange. Describe some of the freeform shapes. I already gave that away. Sorry. Face shapes, leaf shapes, hearts, flowers, freeforms. Then when we go into Nearpod, you'll be able to circle the answers because I just gave them to you. And a finger is a freeform shape. Dun, dun, dun. Do these paintings remind you of anything you've seen before, experienced? Both paintings might remind you of collages. And just collages that you have made in the past where you cut things out and glued them down. They don't really have any rhyme or reason. I don't know. So let's look at this real quick. Using freeform shapes. Freeform shapes are irregular and uneven. A freeform shape, dun dun dun.
Freeform shapes. Two-dimensional images made of straight or curved lines or a combination of both.
Okay, so remember, a freeform shape is any shape that's not geometric. It's sometimes called organic because they occur in nature. Okay, so they can also be created from your imagination. These are some examples, by the way. A dog, a blob, a leaf, and a person is considered a freeform shape.
Can you create a silhouette using freeform shapes?
A silhouette is basically like a shadow. All right. So if you were to create, you might have to do this on, I can't remember if I did this in Nearpod or put this as an activity, but using a freeform shape to draw a silhouette. A silhouette is like an outline of something, okay? Silhouette is the shape of a shadow. Many silhouettes are freeform shapes. Shape of a shadow, a silhouette. Look at the objects that are made of freeform shapes and draw a silhouette of one of those objects. Draw like a silhouette. Like if you're looking at a plant, a silhouette would just be like the outline of something, and then you color it in dark. This is just an activity you can try if you want to. Remember, anything that you do on this video is extra credit. Where you're actually going to earn your grade is by going to the Nearpod and showing me that you understand, okay? So think about how this student artist used freeform shapes in their painting. I see, and this is under the ocean, I do see some geometric shapes, circles, but then I see some freeform shapes that looks like the coral reef, and the different things underneath the ocean. It makes it very interesting. And then there's some shells on the bottom and stuff like that. And if you added little fish, those would be considered freeform shapes as well. So this is something you can do if you want to. Have you ever pretended to be in a different world, maybe a city under the sea? Use freeform shapes to create a fantasy painting. Use a computer airbrush tool if you want to try to create an ocean-like background of blues and greens with a sand-colored bottom. Use the paintbrush tool to create a freeform shape that looks like seaweeds and shells. Color the freeform drawings with bright colors using a paintbrush tool. If you don't want to use the computer, do it with your crayons. Save the printed copy of your undersea fantasy painting. And of course, for those of you guys who want to see an example, it's not going to show you the whole thing. But as you can see on the computer, they've used to fill in the background. It doesn't have to be solid. Some kind of like airbrush tool to kind of like airbrush. Then they filled in the bottom, and then they've drawn their freeform shape to create their undersea painting. Alrighty. So if you do that, by the way, you should be able to describe your painting. You should be able to analyze your artwork by answering, did you change geometrics to freeform shapes? Did you give your work a title and express as its mood? Were you successful in using freeform shapes to represent objects? Okay, so you are done. You've completed lesson 2 on here as far as the video goes. Now you're going to have to go on Nearpod. You have a couple of days, pretty much a week, to get this thing turned into me, to show me. Do not skip any answers, because that's how I'm going to know if I need to go back or not. I need to check for your understanding. So when I ask you to draw something or circle the freeform shape or whatever, you need to show me, because at the very end, I'm going to see everything, and then you're going to take a quiz at the end. And if you don't pass the quiz, then I'm going to know that we need to go back. And then we might have to watch this video again, which would not be very fun. So you are done. Get over to Nearpod when you get a chance to after you finish all your work, and we'll see you next week, guys.